This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, the ginger geek Matt Delhauer returns to deliver a new edition of What the Fuck Happened. This time, it's a vampire, Pomeranians, and pubic tattoos as he recaps and breaks down 2004's Blade Trinity. That's right. It's time for your Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, June 3rd, 2024.
Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. Why? I don't know.
Check one. All right, this is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. We talking, we nerding, we funny, disturbing. We talking, we nerding, we spoiler alert. Oh yeah!
Hey, what's up, listener? How's it going? And a horse welcome to you. Welcome. Thanks for pressing play. Welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's the nerd.
And joining us, he is a genetically mutated puppet vampire hybrid. Goes by the name Drake Boy. We call him Rug Boy. What's up, Drake Boy?
Blah, blah, suck my slack hole.
I believe the Drake vampire also hates Kendrick Lamar. I know, the joke is old.
Yeah, it's an old joke,
We're
Imran.
going at that
Aren't they still feuding? No. All right, but that's not it. We got another very special guest. You've seen the title. It is the return of our buddy, the ginger geek himself, Matt Delhauer. What's up, Delhauer?
Hello, filthy and gentlemen.
That's pretty good. I see what you did there. I see a little Chris Hemsworth Furiosa. So glad to have you back to do another What the Fuck Happened episode. We love these.
Yes, excited to be back.
But also a special occasion listener, as the three of us, Jock, Nerd, and Delhauer, just recently met in real life.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. And was it
Floppy Jock.
or
Geek boner.
we can find out. Anthony, tell them how this happened.
Well, we were out in New York for Kaiju Brooklyn 2,
Yeah.
set up by John Bellotti Jr., who was in attendance, who you've heard on the show. And it is basically, if the name doesn't tell you anything, it's like basically a Godzilla / Japanese Kaiju convention. One-day event. And we were in the New York area, and Mr. Delhauer, whatever his name is, doesn't live far, made the trek out, saw our two faces, and I'm really curious if he got everything he wanted out of meeting us in person.
Was it everything you hoped for, Delhauer?
Yeah.
It was just about what I expected, yes.
How low was that bar that we met for you?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have limboed under it, but no, it was really fun. I was really glad I got to come out and meet you guys and hang out for a while, and it was like a kind of a full circle thing. I feel like.
Did you meet Bellotti?
I met Bellotti.
Yeah, you met Bellotti too.
Bellotti put on a great show, by the way. Props to Bellotti.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome.
And where it was held was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that was a cool venue, too.
Industry City in Brooklyn is wild. Lots of fun. But no, Ruggs, the funniest thing was, Anthony, you asked him there, are we what you expected us to be? And Delhauer, do you remember what you said? Were you being serious?
I said, well, the first thing I said was, I expected Imran was going to be taller.
Oh, shit. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. How do I sound taller?
And I don't know. And funny enough, Anthony was taller than I expected.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of hit both of those.
You listen
Right.
to you, and so also, listener. That's why my voice is a little bit like this. I have a shitty.
That's not why. That's because you went crazy the night before.
Well, maybe that
stumbling in at 3 a.m.
So we were just discussing this, Anthony. There may be a special video that's posted to our Patreon. I'm okay with this. I think it's hilarious. You need to.
Okay.
Everyone here has seen it, so you send me that video. I will put it on the Patreon.
It's in our Facebook chat. You can just grab it. From
Okay, great. I think people will appreciate it. No, I was fine until Sunday morning, like before I flew back, and then my body, like the slightest stress on my fucking body, my immune system. Remember, I lost my voice for like 3 weeks, like 6 months ago. I hope that doesn't happen. But that's how you know I had a good time.
I did enjoy waking up in the morning the next morning.
Well,
first off, for our listeners,
I feel like
me
if
and
you
Imran
go to
don't
New
ever
York
hang out.
and you don't go hard,
we
you're not
live in the
doing
same
it right.
city. We don't hang out. We never hang out. So this is the first time we've ever
What
done
happened? I
anything
lost
like
everybody.
this together. But I did enjoy. First off, you have white eyelashes, which is
I
really
definitely
fucking
lost
creepy.
somebody.
Yes, I do.
I also enjoy when you wake up in the morning and you start talking to me.
What
and
happened?
Because you just don't have any teeth in your mouth.
Oh my God,
that's awesome.
You're giving away all my secrets. The whole thing, like you said, Anthony, big risk. We never hang out, and we're just like, let's go to New York together, stay in the same room. It was either going to be a disaster or the best thing ever. I need to just know from you, how was I as a travel partner?
You're not bad, actually. You're better.
Yay.
I didn't think you would be bad, but you roll with the punches really well. Other than not waking up and not seeing any teeth in your mouth, that's a little strange.
It happens to the
also,
best of us.
Not seeing a man shirtless with no nipples, that's also a little bit strange. But all those other things, all things considered, you're all right.
All right.
You are a little older, so you're not as spry in the morning as I am and ready to go. But you roll with the punches. You go out. You acted like my divorced uncle when I needed a wing. So it was good.
I'm upset you didn't do the twins thing.
Yeah, we should have. Well, I was trying to keep the girls interested in me, and if I went with the twins thing, they might think I was 75.
Oh.
I was like, that's not going to work. They might think I'm too old now at this point.
What if they thought that you were lying, but still thought it was funny?
I guess I could have rolled with that, but I thought
that's what I was going for. Like, see if we could just make up something that was so crazy that they would go along with it.
I think I was pondering the options in my head, and I just went with the first thing that came to mind, which was it'll make sense if he's your divorced uncle.
Look, I'm glad I could get you sympathy points, but we will record something about all that. We need to do a debrief. We are here right now to pay homage to Wesley Snipes at the Church of Wesley Snipes, right, Delhauer?
R.I.P. Wesley Snipes.
What? No, he's still what?
Oh, I meant his career. My bad.
Yeah, his career, definitely. So look, my voice is a little rough. I'm going to ask you guys to help me out a little bit. Who wants to explain, maybe to the new listener, what a What the Fuck Happened podcast is here at the Jock and Nerd?
Delhauer do it.
Okay, because we haven't. The last one we did was like a little over a year ago.
It was May of last year.
All right, Delhauer, take it away. What is this series? What number are we on?
Okay, we are on What the Fuck Happened 19.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And in this lovely little bit we have here, on weeks where Imran does not want to do any work, he will invite me back
Yes.
to the show, where at which point we will all watch a universally considered terrible comic book movie, at which point I will give a recap and breakdown in a humorous, entertaining complainer fashion that I do. We will discuss it, and we will even posit possibly towards the end, what the fuck happened? Why did this go so badly?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can visit our website, jockandnerd.com/WTF Happened, and you will see all previous 18, and then this one will be on there too. You'll see all 19. People love it. And for the 19th edition, we are doing Blade Trinity from 2004. Delhauer, how did we end up on the third and final installment of the Blade trilogy for this one?
A few things kind of went into this one. Looking over the list I had, we had a discussion a little while back about what did we want to do next. I am still avoiding Jonah Hex like the plague. So I keep finding other movies to watch before that.
That's a good choice there. I don't
in a roundabout way, I think part of the reason we went with this one was because with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in July,
yes,
it means that we are finally reaching the third movie in a successful Ryan Reynolds superhero film franchise. And Blade Trinity marks the third of 3 failed attempts by Ryan Reynolds to break into the comic book movie world that we have covered on this show.
Yeah, if you look at the list of the What the Fuck Happened movies, Ryan Reynolds is in a lot of them. He's in like a third, maybe.
Oh my God, it's 4 of them.
It's 4 of them.
I forgot R.I.P.D. even existed.
Yep. And we'll get to where these people were in their careers in 2004, but that's a great, it's a great time for movies. So let me set it up real quick. This movie, written and directed by one David S. Goyer. Goyer, of course, wrote the previous 2 installments. He had Stephen Norrington, Guillermo del Toro, and I guess nobody wanted to fucking do it. So he's like, I'll do it myself. It is the cast, of course, features Wesley Snipes returning as Blade, Chris Christopherson returning as Whistler, Dominic Purcell as Drake. No, not the rapper. Jessica Biel. Yeah, no Drizzy. Dominic Purcell pre-prison break, by the way. Jessica Biel, while on Seventh Heaven, starring as Abigail Whistler. Ryan Reynolds, who had only done Van Wilder and the 2 guys, a girl in a pizza place up until this point. It's Hannibal King. Parker Posey as Danica Talos. We got John Michael Higgins, who's a hilarious character actor. And other comics like Patton Oswalt, for some reason. A young Natasha Lyonne also in this movie. And quick cameo by Eric Bogosian. And we'll get into the other people later. Now, I want to take you back. Oh, also, I wanted to mention...
Imran, you're not going to put my boy WWE's own Triple H in his feature film debut above the line there?
I forgot to mention Paul Levesque. Levesque? Paul
Levesque.
Oh, it's Levesque. Oh, all that shit is silent. Great. Paul Levesque as Triple H. I forgot. I'm sorry, WWE fans. You got to put him above the line. He's a big one.
Buddy
Limbeck as Triple H. So let's all go back to December 2004. The number 1 song on the radio, Drop It Like It's Hot. Snoop Dogg and Pharrell. It was great. The TV show Lost in the middle of its first season. People are going, what the fuck is happening on this show? And to tie it back to what we are doing right now, right here, what you're listening to, listener, it is the year podcasting was kind of invented. February of that year, a writer for The Guardian mentions the term podcasting. And then next year in June, Apple adds podcasts to iTunes. It was iTunes 4.9. So we are podcasting about a movie that came out when podcasting was born. I like it. Full circle. All right, Delhauer, lights go out. I got my popcorn.
Fantastic. Now, Imran, you are going to Drop It Like It's Hot into this part of the podcast. You paid for those rights?
If I can clear the rights, I can add like 2 seconds of it. Maybe like Fantastic. 2 drum beats. Drop it like it's hot.
All right. Here we are. Welcome, children, to another edition. The movie opens on blood and a really bad, edgy fucking voiceover from Ryan Reynolds telling us about how all the movies are full of shit. They don't know nothing about what's up with vampires and Dracula. It all began with and ends with Blade.
Right off the bat, Ryan Reynolds doing the voiceover, it just immediately takes me out of this movie.
Absolutely.
Nobody would have known who he was.
But now that I know who he is, and his voice is so, distinct and not serious. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Why is it starting with his voice?
They give him the job of not only bookending the movie with voiceover, but he's also the one who does the exposition dump at the middle about Dracula. Yeah. And the problem is that this is at a point in Ryan Reynolds' career where he can't not sound like a cocky fuckboy when he talks.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then they don't do him any favors, or maybe he decided, but all his dialogue in between all that is just jokes.
It's jokes.
It's just
and
quips.
It's jokes written for 13-year-olds who are at their first R-rated movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Not good.
So
we then open in Iraq, apparently, in the middle of the day, as a helicopter of soldiers touches down near some sort of crazy-looking fucking tomb that just happens to exist out there in the middle of Iraq. These soldiers jump off their helicopter. They are clad head to toe in armor, not a bit of skin showing, and one of them gives the finger to the sun. Yes, they're vampires.
That's how you know he's a vampire. Fuck you, son.
They make their way inside the tomb, and we learn that this is our group of villains, including Danica, played by Parker Posey. Asher, did not look up the actor's name. Oh God, I didn't write down what Triple H's character's name was because I didn't care.
It says Jarko Grimwood.
Jarko, that was it. I do remember they actually say it out loud at some point.
Asher played by Callum Keith Rennie.
Thank you. And then fourth vampire played by Red Shirt Extra. They make their way into the tomb. They are clearly looking for something. Jarko notices that all the walls are written in Sanskrit, and he talks about how he can't read this chicken scratch shit. They are there searching for something, or it turns out someone, as they discover a body is buried under the floor in one of the chambers of this tomb. And as they go to try and dig it out, the floor turns into like a quicksand pit, and the fourth guy gets pulled into it and immediately gets his fucking head bit off.
Yeah.
And a giant monstrous creature comes appearing out of the hole. Danica drops the lantern she's carrying, and it starts flashing. And they decide the best way to show that is they're just cutting frames out of the edit to make it look like it's going dark and then coming back.
Oh, they do the strobe light thing, don't they?
Yeah,
it's jarring.
Terrible.
It's horrible. Not a good open.
It's so bad.
That's an interesting open. No,
it makes it look like so cheesy, like B-movie.
Yeah.
There's so many moments in this movie where they decide they get around doing things like practical lighting effects by just fucking with it in the edit, and it's always so obvious.
It's bad.
But we leave our plot hook at the beginning of the movie to travel to a warehouse somewhere. Maybe New York? And there are people in it, or at least one guy, because somebody's apparently grinding metal. We see sparks in it. And we also notice that outside of this warehouse are explosives planted to the warehouse that go off. Kaboom! Guy gets thrown out the window and into the river while on fire. People running out in terror, screaming, a bunch of them on fire. And they run into motherfucking Blade.
Yeah.
Cue credits. I love that in the opening credits of this movie, every single freeze frame is just Wesley Snipes' face.
Yeah, with other people's names.
We need so many instances of showing that he's in this movie because a lot of this movie he's not in.
They do it during the action scene, so he like kills someone and then he poses.
Yeah, like he stabs a guy, turns back, puts his sword away, and then bam, freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
And then it says Jessica Biel.
I mean, the action is pretty dope, but they keep putting credits in this action scene.
I also love that on like all the posters, the DVD cases, everything, there's this very stylized Blade Trinity logo.
Oh, yeah.
In the opening credits, it's just in like impact italic font.
No, they just used regular font.
It's like they did a placeholder moment for the credit of the movie and never went back to put something better in.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. After whipping out several really cool weapons to kill vampires and turn them into burning ash, backflipping over a car and shooting people with Uzis.
Yo, the black flip and the return fire behind, that's dope. I thought that was great.
It's pretty dope. Look, this movie, the original Blade, got popular a year before The Matrix.
Right.
And then The Matrix kind of took the aesthetic Blade had and was like, we're going to turn that up to 11.
Yeah.
The year before Blade Trinity came out, both of the Matrix sequels came out.
Oh, jeez.
And I am so certain that David S. Goyer was like, look, people still love The Matrix. We're going to do some Matrix shit. So there's fucking wire fu jumps and fuck it. Like the opening scene of this movie, they have packed every possible action bit they can into the first 6 minutes. Explosion, fire stunts, martial arts, gun work, jumping over a car with wire fu, car stunts where they jump a car out of the back of a truck, racing through tunnels. Like it's everything. Speaking of which, after he clears just about everybody out from this warehouse, he meets up with his buddy Whistler, who is driving it's a box truck or like almost a semi, but not really.
Yeah.
Just around. And he meets up with Blade, who jumps in the back and then goes driving out of the back of it with his car in the opposite direction of traffic to then land in this tunnel and start chasing down the rest of the guys who got away from this warehouse. Now, what were they doing in this warehouse? I don't know. You don't know. And we're never going to find out. But they're vampires, apparently.
Now, Whistler, I didn't see, dude, didn't he die in the first one?
He did, and then he came back in the beginning of the second one.
Oh, that's right.
Interesting. All right.
That's right.
Remember that. It's going to be important to understand later.
Also, that car, he gets in very quickly, and there's no real ramp, but he jumps a whole car with his car.
He somehow burns out hard enough that he can speed out of the back of that car and launch himself.
None of this seems like a great way to get to your car. Couldn't you have just parked it somewhere?
It could have just been in an alleyway.
Yeah.
Like, look, man, learn from Batman once in a while.
Exactly.
Go off screen, and now you're in your car.
Shields.
So he's now chasing down these vampires in their cars in a very long tunnel, which now makes me wonder if this is Los Angeles. The funny thing is, the fact that you guys talked about Furiosa last week.
Yeah.
So much of the cinematography and the way that he shot this chase scene is old school Mad Max.
Oh, yeah.
It's speed ramping the camera.
Yeah.
It's that shot where it starts at the grill of the car and then quickly pans up and in towards the windshield to show who's driving. Like all that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to the end of the chase after he has shot several people, crashed their cars, run into things, and he's now outside the tunnel near a busload of people. The guy he was chasing flipped his car, and civilians are helping him out until they realize the guy's got a gun. Get away from him. And Wesley Snipes, Blade, comes walking up, shoots him in the back with his vampire shotgun, and then wonders, I just staked you as silver. Why aren't you ash?
He really doesn't know.
And the guy turns over and he lets him know, I'm not actually a vampire, motherfucker. We set you up.
You couldn't figure that out.
And now I'm going to die.
Who the hell's we? Also, as time goes on, we come to learn that apparently he has killed numerous familiars of vampires over the years.
Yeah, which are humans, just regular humans.
So why is this suddenly the big moment where it becomes a fucking problem?
The movie needs it to.
Yeah, he gets really confused.
He's like,
I guess the teeth are the only context clue.
The guy's wearing fucking Party City vampires. He's like, we're gonna shut you up. What?
Takes them off.
We shut you. Take the teeth out. What are you saying?
He sounds like Imran in the morning.
No, that's how all these people. Parker Posey sounds like me when I take my teeth out with those fangs.
You can tell some of the actors in this movie did not practice with the fucking fangs.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned Parker Posey. I gotta quickly shout out. What the fuck is Parker Posey doing in this movie?
Look, I remember saying with Imran at one point, the supporting cast of this film is insane.
It's a wild cast.
Because this is, so both Parker Posey and John Michael Higgins are in this, who were in A Mighty Wind.
Yes.
The year before with Christopher Guest.
And Best in Show, right?
And
They're
Best in Show.
Comedy guys.
I don't think John Michael Higgins was in Waiting for
Guffman.
Waiting for Guffman, but I know Parker Posey was. So, like, they are established as these, like, great comedic improv actors. Yeah. And they are in this superhero horror film threequel?
Right.
You got Patton Oswalt.
With Wesley Snipes, who's, like, at his driest at this point in terms of acting.
Yeah. Who clearly hates everybody.
I will discuss the acting of this movie later on when we get to a certain moment. But this is beyond phoned in by Wesley Snipes.
I don't even know how you do that.
So we then notice that apparently way off in the distance on the top of a building, Parker Posey, a.k.a. Danica, is standing there with the most early 2000s camcorder recording everything that just went down at this moment.
They were big back then.
In 2K.
Yes.
I was going to say in glorious 480p.
Yes. 12 frames per second.
And so this is apparently a major conspiracy fuckover plan by the vampires, quote unquote, to get rid of Blade.
It's a good thing she was standing in that exact spot when he killed the guy, because it was a great shot for the video. I don't know how she knew he was going to be there.
So after he leaves...
Super convenient.
Yeah.
Apparently, they don't really establish this well. And I don't remember if there's a transition scene in between. There might be. Because, I mean, like, there's a couple of times that we have, like, a scene that does the exact same thing, which is Whistler and Blade back at their, waterside hideout, and Whistler just being like, "You killed a human, Blade. This is bad. The whole world's coming after us now." And it's like, apparently he's killed a lot of humans.
Yeah.
What the fuck does this matter? But they set it up as if this has never happened before ever. And that this is now a major catalyst because murdering a human means now the world of humans have noticed Blade, and that's going to be a problem. Because apparently the FBI has a fucking task force already set up to try and track him down. They've got wanted posters with sketches of him. They know his name is Blade. They have shit like about him posted all over the walls in their office. But as far as I understand from the movie at this moment, he's killed one dude. But he's apparently a wanted serial killer. So there's this quick scene where the FBI is basically just like, "Yeah, we got to get him. We're gonna get our man. This guy's a fucking maniac." And they leave their office. So meanwhile, we have a talk show going on in which they have a psychologist played by John Michael Higgins and the chief of police from whatever city this is talking on it. And the topic is, are vampires real or is Blade crazy? And what I love so much about this is, how is it that absolutely everybody already knows about Blade, knows his name, knows that he thinks he's a vampire hunter? Like, it's as if literally this is a scene that's like, everybody in this world has seen the first two movies now. So we're all caught up on who Blade is.
It's the third movie. I was going to say, they should know. It's the third movie.
And funny enough, who's watching this show but Blade? Sitting in his hideout after having meditated in multiple camera angles and fade in and fade out shots. He's watching and not reacting. But it seems the police and the FBI have found Blade because they were tracking Whistler. I didn't mention that earlier because it's not really important. It's just a thing that happens. Somehow they know who Whistler is and they're watching him. So they follow him back here.
I was confused. How did they find him?
He goes to a newsstand and he buys oh God, what are they called now? I lost the word.
Newspaper?
It's like the shitty newspapers that are full of lies.
Oh, a tabloid. Brand.
Thank you. He buys a tabloid that has like the whole thing about Blade on the front of it. The guy who sells it to him is like, "Man, that fucker needs to get a new hobby." And Whistler goes, "Let's hope not," and walks away. And I'm like, if I was the dude who sold you that paper, immediately that is suspicious as shit. But apparently the FBI watch him do that and they follow him back to his place.
Sloppy Whistler.
Now, before we get into the whole thing with the police, there is a scene that I did leave out. A very important scene that adds a lot to the movie and really moves the plot forward.
Okay.
And that is the introduction of Jessica Biel as Abigail Whistler.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Now, we don't know her name yet. All we know is that a bunch of teenage extreme vampires who ride BMX bikes and skateboards and wear t-shirts of The Lost Boys are out there and they're looking to feed tonight. And they spot Jessica Biel, very clearly Jessica Biel, dressed as if she is the pigeon lady from fucking Home Alone 2.
She does look like that, yes.
While carrying groceries, and she has like a baby carrier on her front and it's crying.
It's clearly a fake baby. But
they're like, "Oh, look, it's a mom and a baby. Double deal, man." And it's like, "Yeah, you guys are going to fucking eat a baby? Who's fucking righteous?"
They sound like stoners. And the dude's like, "Whoa, combo meal,
exactly.
Man."
So she goes walking down and she's sitting on like the train platform waiting for a subway for wherever. When we then get a very Lost Boys moment of like, "Oh, we see their shadows in the background. They're all like, 'Whoa, yeah, we're gonna fucking kill you.'" And like, then there's nothing. And then they appear out of nowhere and they're all just being like righteous, I guess. I don't know. But so then they go to attack her. They pull the baby out of the carrier and they find out it's a doll that has "fuck you" written on it. And then she drops the massive coat she's wearing to reveal she's in like this totally tactical, sexy outfit. As she starts fighting them, she kills all of them, cuts one of them in half with a fucking UV light bow and arrow thing.
It's not a bad action scene.
It's kind of dope. It's kind of
right?
Look, as a standalone action scene, it's okay.
I didn't particularly care for it. I thought I think Jessica Biel throughout the movie, she looks like she's in great physical shape. Like looks like she's put on some muscle. But they're cutting so many times when it's like any sort of physicality that you're like, oh, it's just, she's not doing it.
It's like heavy cutting and stuff.
Cutting.
She
throughout the whole movie, it's like
anytime she has to be doing fight choreography, you can see her thinking real hard about, and then I punch, and then I punch, and I have to kick, and then I block, and then I have to step back.
Yeah, definitely.
But beyond that, I'm like, it's a scene that this adds nothing to the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're here right now. And now that we're cutting back to the main story, my only response is, the fuck was that?
What was that?
Yeah, it's two awesome intros to the like side character, the Trinity, because you have the voiceover from Ryan Reynolds to start the movie, and then this thing.
So then we come back to Blade and to Whistler, and Whistler's talking about, like, shit's getting real, Blade. And you're like, you said this 4 times. And finally, the moment I love is Whistler's, like, sitting in his office reading this tabloid newspaper, and then he looks up, and we don't see what he saw, and he comes, like, limping his way out of his office, because he's an old man with a bad knee. And he just, like, walks up a catwalk and comes up to Blade, who's standing stock still, holding his sword like a fucking mannequin. And he goes, what is it? He goes, it's what you feared. And then glass breaks, flashbangs go off, the fucking FBI's here. So now we get them raiding the compound. And I love the fact that Whistler gives Blade a ration of shit throughout the whole first 30 minutes of this movie about him having killed a dude. And the moment the FBI raids their hideout, he starts shotgunning cops everywhere.
Oh my god! Yeah. He's just killing humans left and right,
blowing fucking PD away.
Oh, I mean, Whistler with the shotgun from the hip. I was like, oh, you badass.
The classic. I'm hiding behind a door, and you go, fuck it. I have a shotgun. You just start. You come out and you start walking forward. Just
boom. Just boom. I call it the Terminator stroll.
Right.
Yeah,
there you go.
He didn't give a fuck.
So he's blowing away cops, and he tells Blade to run, get out of here, leave. Blade goes to make his way out through like a hidden entrance, but also the cops obviously apparently have found that. So now Blade is also fighting the cops on his way out. Whistler winds up getting shot. He crawls his way over to a control panel where he has set up a major self-destruct explosive. And as the cops come up, they're like, hey, don't do anything. He goes, how about fuck you, PD?
That's great.
And he yells, Blade, get out! And Blade jumps out a window, I'm pretty sure, which he could have done earlier, and he just didn't. So he gets out of the hideout. Whistler blows it up with him inside and the police. But too bad for Blade. The cops surround him on the docks. They comment that his friend is dead. And we get the most emotional acting we will see from Wesley Snipes.
This is the greatest scream ever.
All day. He makes a frowny sad face. And then he screams to the heavens about his friend being dead. But the FBI have their man.
What a punk way for Whistler to go out. I mean, come on.
But the thing is, like, he died in the first one.
He did die, and then they brought him back.
I was going to say, so far, we are now at 2 Whistler deaths in 3 movies.
I also love how he goes around like deleting his browser history.
He's like, I was going to say, it's like the opening of fucking Fun with Dick and Jane, where he's just like shredding documents.
Will anybody see the porn websites he's been to?
That's exactly
None of you are going to find out about the money laundering. So, we now have Blade in custody with the local police, the FBI. He's sitting in an interrogation room, handcuffed at the bicep to a chair. Yeah. I have never seen in my life. Now, granted, I have not been inside many interrogation rooms at police stations, thankfully. I have never seen a police interrogation room in which you get handcuffed around the back by the biceps to the chair.
That is weird.
And I can only imagine this had to have been either a request by Snipes himself or like somebody on the movie, because they're like, well, if you handcuff him that way, it makes his arms look really fucking ripped. Versus if you just handcuff him at the wrist to a table, it just looks pathetic.
Or Wesley was like, I'm bleeding, motherfucker. I can snap these handcuffs. This ain't gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah. He would suggest
fine,
that.
whatever. So the FBI agents are interrogating him, trying to get him to confess to all of these murders that they have on him. Apparently, they know about all of the familiars he's killed. I love the fact that at one point, the two of them comment to Blade. One says, "You're a stone cold killer." And the other one goes, "And sick as fuck."
I did laugh at that one.
I immediately in my head was like, "Thank you. That is so sweet of you."
It's a compliment.
How different a phrase is, like almost like literally 20 years later.
Yeah, this is where he tells them he killed like over 1,000.
Not yet. I think he admits to that when he's talking to the psychologist.
Oh.
So the psychologist comes in and says, "Do you mind if I talk to him? I could probably get more out of him." And he goes through this whole spiel about like, you think vampires are real, you think you're a vampire hunter, do you get a sexual thrill out of this? The whole vampire thing, the exchanging of bodily fluids and so on and so forth. And I'm like,
very weird.
Like, this guy thinks Blade's gay. And then like 2 lines later, I forget, he said something else and went, "Oh, this guy hopes Blade's gay."
It's very weird question.
But so, like, yeah, he asks him and he says that he killed like 1,800 and something familiars of vampires and blah, 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 blah. He doesn't fucking regret it. It's whatever. It doesn't really matter. Lo and behold, we find out that he says he and the police chief have come to an agreement that they are going to transfer Blade to a hospital because they believe he's mentally unwell rather than handing him over to the FBI to be processed as a serial killer. The FBI are pissed. And the police chief says, "Well, you're in my jurisdiction and I overrode you." That's not how that works. You don't get to tell the federal police that you're in charge of your city. But I guess it works in terms of this movie. Because they go stomping out of there real mad that they apparently lost this battle. And we discover that, both the psychologist and the police chief are familiars of vampires.
We're in on it.
Now, I believe there was a scene in the middle here that I missed and didn't talk about, in which we came back to Danica and her vampire friends. And basically they talked about how they had Dracula locked up in like a basement area.
Oh yeah, and he's just feeding.
And he's just feeding on like 6 or 7 people. And they're like, "Well, we could post more security." And she's like, "He's not a prisoner." That was it. That was like the end of the like that was. So she comments that she wants to go see him and talk to him, but we never see that.
Yeah.
But we find out that the people who are coming in to take Blade away, the people who work at this special hospital, well, it's Danica and all of her vampire friends. And
they just let them in.
I love the fact that they come walking in. They walk up to the front desk at the police station. All of them paper white. Just the most dramatic makeup. Bright yellow eyes.
Nobody's
They
suspicious.
clearly have fangs.
Yes, they do.
But they're dressed up as EMTs.
And they have a badge.
And they're like, "We're here to pick up a prisoner." And just the one of the cop at the desk just like, "Yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead."
Yeah, he just lets him in.
This man says he's hunting vampires, and you, clearly regular humans, are here to take care of him. So they go in. He has been drugged by the psychologist. He's all loopy. they do the whole thing where as they're talking, it starts getting real slow and low because he's on drugs. And so Danica comes in and her gang is all hanging out and she's making fun of Blade about like, I like your tattoos. Do they mean anything? And I'll tell you right now, even in an absolute garbage movie like this, I fucking love Parker Posey. She has fun no matter where she is and what she's doing.
It's true. She does.
So Parker Posey is taunting Blade about like, oh, you're chained up, you're drugged, we've won, I can't believe this happened to you. No one's coming to save you, Blade, she says directly into the fucking camera. And then the fucking mirror behind her explodes. Someone's coming to save him.
That was crazy.
And in jumps was clearly Ryan Reynolds' fucking stunt double in a wig. And Parker Posey just shouts out, "It's Hannibal King!"
So bad.
It's like, you know what I realized? I fucking hate the dialogue in this movie.
Like, everybody knows who this guy is.
It's been bad for the entire time.
No, it
but
has been bad.
Yeah.
I honestly have that note written far earlier when there was the whole scene where Blade and Whistler are having a whole conversation. Whistler's talking about, like, I loved you like a son, Blade, and I'm sorry that I got old on you. But you gotta be looking out for yourself. I see you surrounded by enemies. And I'm like, no one fucking talks like this. Just stop it.
Yes.
Please stop
They
doing this.
over-explain things in the most jilted, weird ways.
The worst exposition.
I have a
Stilted,
reason for the bad dialogue, and we'll talk about it later. But
okay.
And it's or at least I have a theory of a reason for the bad dialogue, but we'll talk about it later. In jumps Hannibal King, sexy fuckboy vampire hunter, played by Ryan Reynolds at the age of, I'm assuming, 25. And so a fight breaks out. I didn't establish earlier that apparently Whistler introduced Blade to a new inhaler version of his serum so that he doesn't crave blood.
Yeah.
King then gives that to him and is like, I'm going to need your help, buddy. Time to get powered up. And like the spinach on Popeye, now he can break out of his fucking bonds.
Can we stop calling him Hannibal King and start calling him Van
Wilder Helsing?
Not Van Helsing. Van Wilder Helsing.
Van Wilder Helsing, absolutely. That's because
good.
There is no better description of his character than that.
He is frat boy in this whole thing.
Of course.
Annoying
Yeah,
frat.
he just does. I mean, he sticks out. There's a lot of things that stick out, but for me, he sticks out the worst. Is like this, he's in a totally different movie than everyone else.
So I watched this movie with my girlfriend, and while discussing it with her, we were talking about like the two eras of Ryan Reynolds as an actor. And there was this era, which was Van Wilder placed in a different movie and a different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was post, I'm going to say, Green Lantern, when he got humbled so much by all of the failures he had to go through that finally he was like self-effacing Ryan Reynolds. Where it's like, oh yeah, he's like self-deprecating, he's kind of humble. He plays cocky, but cocky is more in the way of he makes fun of himself rather than, you know,
that's true.
Being that total fuckboy college boy thing.
Yeah, being that overconfident kind of person. Huh.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because he sucks in this movie.
Yeah, they get into a big fight. Like all the vampires in the room get away, which is a really bad fight for your heroes. But he gets Blade out of his restraints. They also then meet up with Abigail, who we met earlier. Van Wilder Helsing calls her Whistler, and we have a moment where it's then a close-up of Blade being like, "Oh, what?" I will give credit to one thing so far in this whole entire experience. Now, this is the second time, before I give credit to anything, this is the second time that we have a lighting effect that is just a fucking editing choice that is very egregious. They are supposed to be having, like, emergency lights flashing on and off in this scene.
Oh, yeah.
But instead, all they're doing is drastically desaturating and resaturating the scene over and over again.
Like a music video.
Now, I get it. It means that you don't have to have your actors dealing with strobe lights. But it also looks terrible. So, have your actors deal with strobe lights, future directors.
There's a lot of weird shit that they did in post here that is very annoying and amateurish.
Yeah.
So during this escape, they get cornered between the vampires, Triple H and his faceless SWAT goons, and the police, who are a bunch of faceless SWAT goons firing guns at each other and them. So they're like stuck in a hallway. There's a moment where they're like, "Oh, we're pinned down," and Ryan Reynolds comments, "I can't shoot around corners."
Oh yeah,
and then Jessica Biel says, "I can."
Oh, can you?
And so I will give them this much credit. The first thing she does, she unzips the entirety of her sleeves, so now they don't like wrap around her arms.
Oh,
That's actually smart because of the fact that she's going to be firing a fucking longbow. And it means that her entire range of motion would not be restricted by leather coats.
okay.
This is 1 point for Blade Trinity. I have so far gone about 40 minutes of points against Blade Trinity. They go firing bow and arrows that are full of UV gel or some shit, whatever it is, I don't know. And they're able to try and get their way out. But in the middle of this, Blade jumps up into a vent and runs away.
He just fucks
And
off.
Van Wilder Helsing has to comment, "Where are you going? This is supposed to be a rescue." And that's the joke. So the two of them leave the building, and more cops come pouring in at them. And in the middle of the cops showing up and pulling their guns on them, Blade fucking bodies his way out of a window 9 stories above them, and CGI jumps his way to the ground and lands right next to them and comments, "I left my sword behind."
You gotta have the superhero landing.
And they all look at him and they're like, "Okay." But the cops are still here. How the fuck are we going to get out of here? Well, cue a real beat up looking 80s Zuzu trooper.
Right.
Just plows its way through the cop cars and stops. And is like, "Come on, we gotta leave." So
the most bulletproof car that there is.
I was going to say, if there's anything I will give a Zuzu, it is a tank.
Well, also, it's just so, they couldn't have laid this out better.
Exactly.
Maybe have the cops not there and then just show up as he's getting there. But the cops are already there. It's over.
Yeah. Why would you exit the front door?
Yeah.
And also, where are you? I thought you guys broke into the police station.
Right.
They seem to all stop shooting at the same time so the Zuzu can roll in.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody waits.
And then they wait until everyone starts running to shoot just a little behind them.
Yeah, it's just such a weirdly thought out scene. They needed that it doesn't make any sense. You literally could have just had the cops trail right as they're getting away, and it would have made more sense than that.
Yes.
Yeah, it could have been they get out, he jumps out, the car pulls up, goes, "We got to go, cops are on their way." They pile in, and as they're leaving, cop cars pull up and start shooting at the back of them.
Right. You can do the same thing.
To have them get surrounded and then they just leave?
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't get pursued.
No.
The cops, the FBI, no one comes after them except for Triple H.
Because it's all about the game.
Who comes running after their car.
Love it.
This is my
running.
favorite moment in the entire movie is watching peak pro wrestler Triple H buck sprint down a road in the most awkward fashion possible. And then he gets shot in the face with a bow and arrow.
And not even one of those vampire killing bow and arrows.
It's not even a vampire killer. It's just an arrow.
Yeah, why don't they... Why? I was like, oh, he's dead. And then he's not dead. I'm like, well, you had all the vampire weapons.
Yeah.
Why did you shoot him with a regular arrow?
I love the fact that the next time we see him, we'll get to the scene. I'll talk about it then. It's fine. I don't want to break the flow. Okay, so Blade and his new friends then go to their new waterside hideout, and he discovers that this is a group who call themselves the Night Stalkers.
Oh, catchy title. Easter egg.
And it's Mr. Van Wilder Helsing, Lady Whistler, blonde Natasha Leggero. Or no, not blonde. Well,
Leon.
blonde, but also blonde.
Natasha Leone.
And Leone.
Natasha Leone.
It is Leone. You're right.
I don't know why she's blind.
Yeah.
Look, man, I don't know. I can't give you that. Patton Oswalt as their Q.
Patton Oswalt.
And I don't know the last guy. I don't know who he was, and I didn't look it up.
No one knows who that is. But
Their Wheelman.
He's the guy who drives the Isuzu.
Wheelman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They surround Wesley Snipes with what a sitcom cast.
This is entirely a TV
It's a
cast
fucking TV cast.
Yeah. And he even goes, we think this is a fucking sitcom. He says that in the movie.
Yeah. But I mean, so then they talk about like, yeah, you know, we're the Night Stalkers. We have cells all over the country, and whenever one falls out, the others have to pick up the slack. And it's like, so you recognize you guys keep getting fucking killed.
Right.
Like, that's bad. That means you're bad at what you do.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was going, that means you guys suck. Because there's been vampires everywhere, and you're not cracking a dent in any of this.
And so they all have like their little like niches. So you've got the funny guy, bow and arrow girl, the blind computer whiz, the guy who makes gadgets, and the wheelman.
The driver.
Oh, and a child.
Oh yeah, there's a little girl there. That's right, Natasha Leone's kid.
And they're all like, "We're here to help you. We want to join forces so we can work together." Blade's like, "Fuck no! Are you kidding me? You guys are you're small time. You're babies. This is a sitcom. What are you wearing? Do you think that's tactical?" And I think my favorite thing is the response to that should have been, "All right, I see you don't like our armor. What would you prefer, Morpheus?" Like, dude, don't sit here and wear a long fucking trench coat and fucking sunglasses at night and pretend like you understand fucking battle fashion.
Sure, right. Yeah, that was like, you look way more ridiculous than they do.
He does. He wears the sunglasses all
you wear
the time.
a cape.
And a cape.
Yeah, dialogue was bad.
Yeah.
There's also, I don't know if it's in this scene, I think it is, but there's one point where the kid is there, and I think she's like crouched on a desk coloring.
Yeah.
And then then Natasha Leone's character goes over there all blind and like starts petting her. And it just looks it looks like she's like nestling her face into her chest.
It was
very awkward.
It's such weird actor business because it's like one of the things I recognized with Natasha throughout this entire movie is her character is blind, but it almost feels like she did absolutely no research in playing a blind person. She just put on like completely blacked out glasses and stumbled through the fucking set.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, just look straight and use your arms. That's all you got to do. She did no research.
So now we cut back to a little boardroom meeting that the vampires are having about how their plan fucking failed. Also, I am wrong. I said earlier that Danica wanted to meet up with Drake and that never happened. It actually did. Because that was the moment where I wrote down, oh my God, Dominic Purcell's in this movie. She has a meeting with him, and basically it's just him being like, you're all a bunch of fucking bullshit, like copies of a copy. You're not even real vampires. And she's like, well, we have a vampire killer we need to get rid of. He's like, and you want me to kill him for you, don't you? She just goes, yes. It's like, well, what did you want me to say, man? You wanted me to fucking lie to you? Like, yeah, that was the point. That's why you're here.
I also got to just bring in the fact that, like, at this point, the opening scene is him, like, scaring the fuck out of everybody.
Right.
And then, like, all this time later, like, they somehow wrangled him up, probably talked to them, because he's portrayed as being much stronger than all of them. So they had to do some sort of convincing, but they talked about like nothing.
I feel like they made mention at one point about how he's not a prisoner. He came with us willingly. So they had to have discussed with him at some point, like, we're also vampires and we want to work with you. And he was like,
we've got a problem.
Okay, cool.
There's something out there that's just as strong as you that we need your help with. But like,
but we then have to have another scene where we explain that fucking 10 to 15 minutes later.
It would have been cooler if they busted him out and then he killed all the vampires and then he showed up in the city where they were looking to fucking take over everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I'll tell you now. One of the notes I have in this is this movie made Dracula really fucking lame.
It's unfortunate.
So they're all having this little like boardroom meeting that feels equivalent to like something from the Crow movies, where they're like, oh, a bunch of them are sitting around a boardroom table and Parker Posey's like sprawled out on top of it.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, and they're all lamenting the fact that their plan failed. And we see that Triple H left the arrow in his eye until this exact moment. He went home with it and waited until he was sitting in the boardroom with them to remove it.
That's when he pulled it out.
He does. He talks to them.
He does.
Because one of them is like,
she's just sitting there taking it out as they're all
like
talking.
one of them says something along the lines of like, "Look, the plan didn't go as we expected," and he pulls the arrow of his eye. He goes, "Didn't go as expected. We got ass raped out there." I'm like, great dialogue, dude. Real good for you. This is fun. We're all having a great time, aren't we?
We're having fun now.
And so they all discuss like, oh, this isn't going how we want it to. And then Dracula, or Drake, as we will soon learn.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Just wanders in and is like, I guess it's my turn to get involved. That's the end of that scene. There's a whole scene.
I saw the hotline blink, and it could only mean one thing.
It can only mean one thing. I gotta fight Blade.
Yeah.
So we then get the scene in which Ryan Reynolds lays out the very poorly written exposition about Dracula existing and now being back. Wonderfully dumb moments of this include he hands Blade a Tomb of Dracula comic from Marvel Comics.
Oh my God. I was like,
goes,
what the
take
world
a look
is
at this.
This is why.
Blade looks at it
It's real.
and goes, the hell is this? And just throws it away. The problem I have is, number one, it's obviously supposed to be a, oh shit, Marvel Comics.
Yeah, well, it's an Easter egg. Blade showed up in Tomb of Dracula.
Number two,
first.
I think this is yet another call out to the Lost Boys.
Oh.
Because there's a scene in the Lost Boys where the main character goes to a comic shop and meets Corey Feldman and the other character. And he's talking about like looking for comics. Well, he was like, well, you're going to live in Santa Carla. Maybe you should check out this. And he hands him like I don't even think it's Tomb of Dracula. It's something else of Dracula, or it's Vampires Everywhere or some shit like that. And so it's like, it's yet another moment where we have like one of the characters is just ripping off a fucking 80s vampire movie, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, second thing I love, Ryan Reynolds makes a comment where he says, we have this tiny piece of Dracula's armor that we found.
Oh, this is great.
And with that, we were able to create a digital composition of what he looked like.
Really? That's some amazing.
What are you talking about?
That's so good.
I
forgot that happened. That is really
we have a spiky piece of ancient armor, and with that, we've created a digital rendering of Dracula.
You extrapolated the whole look of the armor. He's like, oh, look, this is what you look like. We got it from this piece. I'm like, what? Really? Come on.
Oh my God. What are you doing? What is this movie?
Yeah.
So he then goes through, and we get even more Ryan Reynolds voiceover talking about, he was born perfect. He never had to evolve. And it's even more of this weird liquidy blood imagery with then like quick shots of Dracula in like the time of the Sumerians killing people.
Yeah. It's weird.
Totally pointless. Eats up time. Tells us nothing. But you know what doesn't eat up time and tell us nothing? The next scene where we see Drake,
Drizzy,
walking around the city.
Yeah.
In the daylight?
Oh, how's this possible?
But also, it's the worst green screen I've seen in a while. Why did we green screen him walking through a day-lit city? You couldn't get Dominic Purcell to walk around city streets?
I don't understand why they have all the people like zooming past him, and he's walking in slow. Like I don't understand why they even.
It's such a
shot.
weird like boy band fucking music video shot.
Yes.
And then he's been walking around the city all day because suddenly it's nighttime, and he comes across a store that solely sells Dracula and vampire themed merchandise.
This is great.
Yeah, it's like a Hot Topic just for Dracula.
Yes.
It's like a Hot Topic, but it's a Hot Topic that got started by a disgruntled Hot Topic employee and bought their own storefront.
It's a store that only exists in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. And he walks in and he talks to the two people working there, clearly 2000s goth kids. One of them eating Count Chocula casually.
Get it? Haha.
He goes, "You sell Dracula items?" And they show him all of the Dracula stuff they sell, like Drac-Kidula, when it's so easy to just say Kid Dracula.
Dracula.
Or the fucking dildos with Dracula's face on them.
That was great. The Dracula dildo. Come on. This movie has a Dracula dildo.
Yeah, I was like, why? Why are you undercutting your movie with this? With the dildo
and he decides this is such an offensive affront to him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, kills them both.
You should have killed him with the dildo.
That would have been good. The funny thing is, I would have loved that, and it should have been in the unrated version, but all the unrated version did was show more Dracula merchandise, like Draca-Cola.
Oh my God, it's so cheesy.
They just, it's like they just want to undercut their main villain by doing all these like stupid little things.
He kills the one kid by just throwing him out the shop window, and then he feeds on the girl who works there in what feels like a very rapey way.
Yeah, that was a little bit like
the girl was like grabbing back.
It was like really kind of uncomfortable.
He pins her down into what I can only describe as a barber's chair.
Right.
Yeah.
And like she's screaming, she's struggling, and he's holding her down. It's like,
I mean, he's like, killing her.
I mean, that's the thing is, I'm not going to say like, look, no one's going to try and throw for their life if they're being attacked. But it's just, I don't know. There's something about it just feels overly rapey when he could have like just grabbed her and bit her.
He rips her necklace off.
He waits.
Yeah.
Well, it's also just like incongruent with the scene. Like 2 seconds earlier, we just saw a dildo with Dracula's face on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now this is.
But anyway.
And this isn't supposed to be a dark comedy either.
Exactly. Those kids are dead, and that scene helped the movie. But we move on, where we now meet Patton Oswalt as, I forget his character's name. I'll just call him Patton Oswalt.
It's just Patton Oswalt.
As he shows Blade and the other two members of the Trinity the gadgets they get to use as they go hunting vampires. And it includes another glowing moment in the dialogue for this movie, where he refers to them as gentlemen and hottie.
He does say
That's right. It's so bad. His name is Hedges, by the way, but I don't think anybody says it once.
So Ryan Reynolds does. They go through a gadget scene like in a James Bond movie where he shows off all the cool things they get to use. And I also wrote, I fucking hate the banter in this movie, because outside of the line, gentleman and hottie, we then also get a moment where Ryan Reynolds makes a comment about, so Hedges, have you ever gotten laid?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he responds with, yes, I have, many times, by women. It's like, okay.
And it's like, is that supposed to be funny? Like, what is this?
I don't find any of you endearing. So, like, none of the, like, I don't know any of you. Why would I care?
Right. And you were like, well, you guys all willingly, like, I don't believe that you guys all want to work together. I don't believe that you guys get along.
Every one of you's a douche. Like,
right.
All right. So continue. They go hunting during the day for familiars to try and get information about the who is it that's trying to frame Blade and what's going on. Where's Dracula? Where's Dracula?
Can they find out who framed Roger Rabbit while they're at it, please?
No one can find out who framed Roger Rabbit, all right? Unless they want to face the dip.
Oh, yes.
So we get a wonderful montage of them beating people up. And one of the things I love about this montage is Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel going around beating people up together. Wesley Snipes on his own.
Yeah, he didn't want to shoot any of these scenes with anybody else.
So they finally track down some dude who they are dangling over the side of a parking garage, like, ramp, and demanding that he tell them, who his handler is. He's like, I don't fucking know, man. He gets a call, and it's a call from the psychiatrist from earlier. And apparently that's all they need to know. Now, Blade already knew this dude was tied to the vampires. Why did he not just go to him in the first place?
Yeah, it's a good
They
point.
needed to do a montage, damn it.
Look, we needed to eat up time. We needed that montage to eat up time. And I mean, he's already killed damn near 2,000 familiars. He might as well just rack up more. By the way, where's the FBI?
Oh, they don't care.
What? They just gave up on him.
They're not very good
As
at
he's
their job.
blatantly killing people in broad daylight.
Yeah, and he's not doing he's not inconspicuous. He's still wearing the fucking nothing about him suggests that he is trying to be covert.
He's not changing his style. He went right back to what he was doing before, and everyone was like, I guess we'll just leave him alone.
Yep. Well, fuck him.
Fuck 'em.
So they then head off to the psychiatrist's office to go confront him, and this includes beating the shit out of a bunch of security guards. I wrote here, Blade, White Girl, and Van Wilder kick people's asses. Oh, I did say one of the few things I actually like about Ryan Reynolds' character as Hannibal King / Van Wilder Helsing is that he literally painted a target on the back of his vest to basically be like, I dare you to shoot me in the back.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice
my favorite thing, he's got the little sigil on his fucking pubic area.
Yes, I did comment at one point, why did the vampires... he did bring this up, but I didn't mention. His character apparently is a former familiar of Danica's that got found and quote-unquote cured.
There's a cure.
We've never mentioned that before. We never mention it again.
He was a vampire at once, and I didn't know they had a cure.
He said he was a familiar.
You know my favorite part of this Ryan Reynolds bit where he reveals that he's a vampire? He pulls down his waistband and you see his fucking pubes.
You do.
You see his fucking pubes with a tattoo above it. It's like, what is this?
The thing that literally the note that I wrote was, why did they have to tattoo his pubes?
Yes,
right.
It doesn't make sense. All the other familiars have them on their wrists because they got to scan their hand in and shit to get these places. I was like, why is it tattooed? How are you supposed to scan that in?
Because Ryan Reynolds is a fucking hard body hottie and we got to look at that shit, Imran. You got to make sure we see that shit.
He pulled his pants down very low.
It was low. It was very. Yeah. It was like
it's R-rated, but that's
what
low.
are we doing?
Yes.
Why are we seeing his pubes?
It's probably the review that anyone should have for this on Letterboxd. Why did I have to see Ryan Reynolds' pubes?
Okay, let's see it.
The only reason to watch this is Ryan Reynolds' pubes.
So they get there. They beat the shit out of basically everybody. They get into the office and they're confronting the psychologist. And as they're doing so, both Abigail and King are circling around to try and get a good vantage point, where they then see, oh, there's a body on the ground next to him. And it's the psychologist. Oh, no, Blade, it's him. It's Drake. And so he shoots at him and he dodges the bullet in the most overly telegraphed CGI moment in this movie. And he turns back into being Dominic Purcell. So what was the plan that Drake had here? Because they apparently caught him at a time where he had just killed the psychologist and then taken his, shape-shifted to pretend to be him.
Right.
But the body's right there. Did he think they'd never approach the desk?
They won't see that. It's fine. They won't see it.
So he then grabs Ryan Reynolds, holds him as a human shield, and taunts Blade about oh, Blade, you and me, we're going to fight, but not now. And so Ryan Reynolds is like, just fucking shoot him. And then he stabs himself. And for some reason, Dracula just fucking lets go of him for that. And then he yells, let's see what you're made of, Blade. And then he jumps out a window and runs away.
Then he just leaves. Yeah.
Fucks off.
And then it was a chase scene, right?
Now we have a foot chase as Blade chases after Dracula in the daylight around the city.
Why is he running away, though?
And it was so long, and it was like tedious.
It is so long. It's so overly edited. It is this is such just a time waste. And what do you mean, show me what you're made of, and then you run away?
Yeah, I was like, why? Where are you going?
In the middle of this chase, he steals a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's got a hostage again. And as finally fucking Blade catches up to him on the roof of a building, and he's standing there like holding the baby off the edge. He's like, oh, that's your weakness, Blade. Your love for these humans.
He's like Michael Jackson.
And then
he's holding blanket on the balcony.
Oh, Blade, you're ignorant.
Allegedly.
And so he then tells him, he's like, oh, your weakness is your love for these humans. And then he looks down, he's like, look at them, scurrying around like insects. They know nothing about living by the blade or honor. It's like, what do you mean honor, motherfucker? You fucking ran away and now you're dangling a baby off a roof. How honorable are you? And so then he throws the baby for Blade to catch and he disappears because,
of course,
you can't have them fight yet. Blade catches him, and my favorite line read of this whole movie, when he looks at the baby, he goes, coochie coo.
That's my favorite line. That is my favorite line of the movie. He goes, coochie coo. So good. I was like, what is happening?
So apparently, everything that happened here after Abigail patches up Hannibal King, they all go back to their hideout. Apparently, this was hyper traumatic for Abigail Whistler. Because she has this long, drawn-out moment of remembering her dad, Regular Whistler. I don't think we ever got a first name from him.
It's just Whistler.
Talking, like, the funny, like, he does this whole speech, and immediately, like, the first thing I thought it was, like, just repeating something from the first movie where he's telling the backstory of, like, what happened to his family. But then it turns out apparently this was him telling her that, and he's like, I don't want this life for you, Abby. It's like, I don't know what you're going to do, man. Like, this is a daughter that you apparently had and then abandoned in the midst of your vampire hunting. Maybe you shouldn't have been raw dogging it with randos. Like,
super confusing because you're right. I thought it was like a flashback, but then I was like, oh, this is her memory.
And all of this leads to her then just having a naked, traumatic shower scene where she sits like curled up into her knees, covered in blood in the shower, because this is all really weighing on her. The one time Ryan Reynolds got stabbed.
And it's a very strange, large shower. Like, where the fuck are you?
Yeah, it's weird because like the hideout that Blade had was like a really big boathouse warehouse.
Right.
But the one that they have, I think it's a ship that's just docked in the harbor.
Okay.
But it also has a giant shower. Anyway.
As all ships that are docked should have.
Yeah, for group showering. You got to have a group showering area.
One of my favorite things is we get a tiny moment with Blade out on the deck of the ship, and he's taking his inhaler serum, and it's very dramatically shot for no reason. At which point, the little girl, Zoe, who is the daughter of Natasha Lyonne's character, comes out and she asks, why do you do that? He goes, because there's something real bad in me. And using this means it won't get out. She goes, well, why don't you just be nice? He goes, because the world's not nice.
He should have just said motherfucker.
And that's a scene in this movie. Like it's all weirdly overly directed. Like the camera movements are pointless. Like she asks, why can't you just be nice? And it's a medium shot of Blade that then quickly zooms in or dollies into like a close up. And he goes, because the world's not nice. Okay. So I don't honestly remember how, but they apparently figure out that there is. Oh, they find something out about how the vampires have been stealing medical equipment from like pharmaceutical companies, and they like track the shipments or whatever it is out to like a warehouse out in the middle of nowhere. Yes. And so they go to investigate, and there they find a random vampire meeting up with the chief of police. And so Abby and Blade go to check out what's going on. They have to leave Van Wilder Helsing behind because he's hurt. So he's laid up in a hospital bed watching French movies.
With Shatner.
Yes. And they go to find out what's going on. And they do the greatest form of reconnaissance I've ever seen, which is blatantly walk up to two people and just go, "What's inside?"
I love this part, though.
So the one vampire is like, "I'm never going to tell you." So Blade just backhand is a bitch. She gets up. She tries to charge him. They shoot her. She turns into ash. And then he pulls the gun on the police chief. He's like, "You're going to tell me what's going on here." Says, I can't do that. They'll kill me. And my favorite moment of the whole movie is just the most Wesley Snipes thing I've ever heard is, "Kill you, motherfucker, I will kill you."
I love that. That's the best line delivery. It's so funny. He's like, "They're going to kill me." He's like, "Motherfucker, I'll kill you. Let's go." I mean, it's no...
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
But it's pretty good.
I was going to say, nothing will top that, but it tries.
It's so funny.
They drag him over. They force him to let them into the barn, the giant warehouse in the middle of nowhere. And we discover that this is an operation that is called the Blood Farm. And it's giant, like, oh god, vacuum sealed people.
Humans.
Yeah, it's people in Ziploc bags
who are being harvested of their blood while being put into a chemical coma of brain death.
Still alive. It's kind of wild.
This is probably the most fucking interesting thing this movie has presented. It's
the most interesting thing, and maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, it's forgotten about and never brought.
They shut it down. They never bring it up again, despite the fact that he makes a comment that they have like installations across the country doing this.
Yeah, this is just one.
So they he kills the cop. He demands the woman who's working there because guess what? There's no fucking security here.
It's just one,
which makes no sense to me. The vampires are supposed to be like a supernatural organized crime family. And let me tell you, organized crime families, they guard their fucking like harvest spots for whatever they're selling. So to tell me that it's a one fucking like med student who's just posted at a bunch of computers is ridiculous. But yeah,
he's like, they
shut it down. All of them are dead. That's it. This was highly traumatic for everybody, and now the scene's over.
I love when he's like, "What's the shutdown password?" Like, how did you know there's like a shutdown password?
He asks her, "What's the shutdown password?" And she tells him, and he goes, "Well, then put it in." It's like, why did you have to know it if you're going to make her do it?
Just shut it down. You tell her to shut it down.
The dialogue is really well thought out, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But guess what, guys? While they're gone, somebody shows up at the hideout for the Night Stalkers.
Uh-oh.
And now, you might not believe this, despite the fact that it's happened at least once before. But it's Whistler. He's fucking alive again, dudes. We thought he died. Oh, shit. How could we not have expected Whistler to come back? It's not him. It's Dracula. And apparently there is no security or no one's watching. The person who's near the surveillance cameras for this place is the fucking blind lady.
Yes, correct. Patton Oswalt's playing basketball with that other dude.
And Ryan Reynolds is held up in bed. Yeah. And so Whistler Dracula, but at the moment all we know is Whistler, shows up. He's watching the two dudes play basketball. Then we cut to him appearing next to Ryan Reynolds, and he's like, "You're dead." Then he gets attacked because his eyes turn weird. And it's like, so you guys learned today that not only is Dracula real, Dracula's back, and you've come face to face with him, you learned he could shapeshift and take the form of other people. And when your friend who died shows up at your doorstep,
you don't think
you don't go,
1 second. No.
I think you might be fucking Dracula.
Wait a minute.
So he kills Patton Oswalt.
That's a waste of Patton Oswalt. I was so mad.
He kills the wheelman. He stalks Natasha as she fumbles her way through the dark as a blind lady. And then we get a wonderful Aliens moment of her daughter hiding in an air vent because they only come out at night, mostly. And then we get a jump scare as Dracula shows up in the air vent and makes his fingers grow.
Oh, that was scary, bro. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
I have to stop right here and say that whole facial morphing thing that they do with him when he's like not quite, it's very bad. Where he's like,
it absolutely
is. It's like they get to where he transforms into like a practical monster, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But that in between stage that they try and do is really, really bad.
Yeah, no, it's just this weird, like, shiny clay morphism thing.
Like the cheekbones are sticking out and shit. Yep. It's bad.
So Blade and Abby come back to the hideout, and they realize immediately something's wrong because all the lights are off. So they go looking around. They go looking around. They go looking around. And that's how we learn that Patton Oswalt and the driver are dead. And Hannibal's missing. And then we find that apparently Natasha Lyonne was attacked, I'm guessing fed upon.
Yep. She was dead,
half
right?
stripped.
Strung up.
And then strung up in the shower. For some reason.
Yeah, very...
But not quite dead?
Was she
I think
dead?
she, I think it was that she was supposed to be dead, but I don't think Natasha Lyonne was good at hiding the fact that she's alive while they filmed it.
No, I feel like she was alive.
Barely alive.
Okay. Well, either way, she doesn't come back, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Right.
And there was
very elaborate death for this, and it was like, why did he do this for this? Like, why did he feel like this character? If I do an elaborate death, it's really
the one woman who is here. I have to rip her shirt open, pull down her bra strap, and then feed upon her and string her up in the shower.
It's way too complicated.
Like, who the fuck even are you to him?
It reminded me, for whatever reason, of like when Hannibal Lecter kills those two people and the cops come in and the guy's strung up on cell.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But so like, and he also wrote some fucking cryptic message in blood on the wall. I don't even remember what it said.
Something about being worthy.
Like, yeah, the end is coming and only the worthy will survive or some shit. So, just about all the Night Stalkers are dead, and I don't feel anything about it.
No, yeah, how could you?
Yeah,
I don't know these
at this
people.
point. Yeah, no, they made no attempt for you to get to know them.
I met them 30 minutes ago, and I still don't know their names. Obviously, Abigail is devastated by this. And we then have a moment where they're like, she's training to get better to kill whoever did this, I guess. But there's also a moment where, like, as she's like crying over the body of Natasha in the shower, Blade's just standing there going, "Use it, use it."
He's just yelling,
just like basically telling her, like, stop being sad and be angry.
Yeah,
I was like, give her a second. Her friend just died, and he's like, use it.
Love that we get a second dramatic scream for people's death.
Yes, we get another scream.
We get another on my knees screaming to the sky about my dead friend.
Yep.
Cradling her body even, so that's good.
Yeah, she just died. It's still warm, Blade. Fucking chill out for a second.
Use it.
Use it.
What, use her blood? What do you want her to use? She's
the fuck are you telling me to do?
Slow your
So
roll.
it turns out Hannibal's not dead. He got taken because he's one of the three main actors in this movie.
Wait, question. Why didn't they kill him?
Oh, so my thinking is this. I mean,
why is he even still alive?
I think Danica wants to torture him.
Danica wanted to torture him. I could see Danica saying, no, Hannibal King is mine to murder. But she also is interrogating him about what's this new weapon that Blade's working on, which I haven't mentioned at all in my fucking recap yet because it is such a minor throwaway moment in this movie. I forgot that it's a major plot point. At one point, the Night Stalkers say that they are working on a new weapon that is designed to essentially be a chemical weapon against vampires that will destroy vampires within a certain radius as if it were like sarin gas.
Yeah.
But they don't think it's really able to do that yet because it's too unstable to work on all vampires. The only way we can make it kill all vampires is we need the blood of Dracula to use on it.
You need the pure vamp blood.
Sure.
Why not?
Good.
But it could also
Whatever.
It could also kill Blade. They don't care.
I thought they were going to say they needed Blade's blood because he's the fucking Daywalker, you know? But I guess that's not good enough. He's only a half-breed.
Drake started from the bottom and he's here, so that blood is way more pure.
Fuck you.
That's right.
Okay, wait. One more question. You mentioned the training. There's that scene where she's firing the bow and arrows and there's like a speed gun on it. And somehow she's pulling the arrow back the same distance every time. Somehow the arrow goes faster and faster.
Now,
how the fuck does this work?
Here's an even better thing to add on top of that, Imran. When you look at the computer readout of what it's saying when she fires them and it keeps going higher and higher in number, do you know what it says that number represents?
I assumed it was like miles per hour.
It says FPS, which means frames per second.
That makes no sense at all.
What is this calculating?
Who decided that?
What are you trying to get better at doing? You're shooting the bow and arrow at a faster frame rate?
I don't think it's possible.
I thought it was feet per second, maybe.
Maybe feet per second.
I could buy that. But I saw FPS and my filmmaker brain said frames per second immediately.
What doesn't make sense is you can't make an arrow go faster that much.
I also don't know why it would calculate feet per second versus miles per hour.
I'm just guessing, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
So that means the reason she kept Van Wilder Helsing alive is because she wants to torture him and have him tell her what this new powerful weapon that Blade's cooking up is. Now, I will remind everyone, Blade's not cooking up shit.
No.
The Night Stalkers came up with this weapon, but apparently everyone's decided that Blade's the goddamn ringleader here. And if you've watched the movie up to this point, Blade is barely even doing anything on his own. He's doing a lot of sitting down and acting. This is where we then learn that apparently the vampires have also been experimenting with adding vampiric DNA into other animals.
Oh, the Pomeranian.
Oh, that's
and
so
we
funny.
meet the vampire Pomeranian.
The vampire Pomeranian.
It does not hold up.
It doesn't at all. It looks so bad.
It's so bad. It's so stupid.
Also gives me my second favorite line in this entire movie is that Triple H playing Jarko Grimwood comes walking up, picks up the dog, and is very loving with it. And Ryan Reynolds makes a comment about, well, it has a bigger dick than you do.
Yeah.
And Jarko responds with, when the fuck did you see my dick, fuckface?
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Why are you buying into this?
What a retort. What an idiot.
And his response to that is, I was talking to her.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
heads
right.
over to Danica. And that's the moment where I wrote, for the third time in my notes, I fucking hate the dialogue in this movie.
So bad.
It's horrible.
It's pretty terrible.
Right under it, why did they tattoo his pubes? So the one thing I will at least give them in the writing of the villains here is when Danica then lays out her plan on how to get Hannibal to talk. She says, you know, we could torture you, we could beat you, but instead, I know the thing you fear most. I will bite you again. I will turn you again, and I will leave you here thirsting for blood for weeks at a time. And then I'm going to send your friend's daughter in here with you. And you're going to have to recognize that you are the one who killed her. That's fucking delightfully twisted.
That's fucked
That's
up.
the shit I want in my fucking vampire
Yeah,
movies.
that's fucked
Where
up.
the fuck is this shit in the rest of the movie?
Nobody knows.
No, it's buried under a whole lot of mediocrity. Is where
And there are
it
a
is.
ton of shit.
I also wrote, isn't that cute? Abby made a cross out of arrows while she was training. So they wind up meeting up with, like, I guess another Night Stalker member from a different cell. I don't really know who this guy is. I was kind of not paying attention at this point. But he has a video for them to watch, which is, I actually wrote her name, Summerfield. Was the name of Natasha Lyonne's character. She left if you're watching this, I'm already dead video.
Which you would have to make every day of her
when
life.
did she record this? Because she talks about the book she just read the kid in the movie.
And I love so much the fact that it means, A, she recorded one of these every day because she had zero faith in their group.
Yeah, she had to.
Because the other option is, like, if she was so certain that she would die at any moment, that was never laid out with how anybody else in their group behaved. Like, they died because no one was watching security cameras and they were all goofing off.
Like, they could have written it better. I mean, this is David Goyer. Like, he knows how to write.
Yeah.
He couldn't just write that she was logging her progress on the fucking disease or whatever that she was
Or
creating.
something. But so it's literally a, if you're watching this, then I'm already dead intro. And I'm like, wow.
Such a cliche.
That's a cliche.
Yeah.
But so she tells them, you know, we've already basically made a prototype version of this sundown virus we've been talking about, the big bad chemical weapon. And we conveniently have turned it into a liquid/gas form inside of the head of an arrow because
Convenient.
guess who's gonna get to fire that?
Who's getting the kill?
And I wrote, why would Summerfield make a backup and an If I Die video? They seemed entirely unafraid this whole movie. Oh, wow, the killer vampire virus is inside of an arrowhead. How convenient. Oh, we also learn that Abby also has a pubes tattoo. Because
God.
during the suit up scene where she and Blade are preparing to go and face the villains and save Hannibal, there's a very quick shot of her low-rise jeans, and she has a peace dove origami tattoo right on her pubes.
Everybody loves tattoo on the pubes in this movie.
Pubes tattoos were apparently a huge thing in
It was 2004. Yes.
Wait, could you see actual pubes or just her belly?
No, it was just her skin.
Oh.
She clearly waxed for this, unlike Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, God. This movie's falling apart very quickly.
It fell apart from the minute it started.
I was going to say, it's the fact that we're getting into the third act, and I just don't care, so my notes don't have much in them.
Yeah, I would say right during the third act, like I had a hard time even paying attention to it, but by the third act, I was really drifting in and out of like even giving a fuck about what was on screen.
Yeah.
While they're here's the funny thing: they make a comment about their devious plan of, you know, the way that we're going to get you to talk is we're going to turn you, we're going to leave you alone, and then you're going to attack this girl. When we come back to them at what I can only assume is at least 12 to 24 hours later, because Blade and Abby did a bunch of shit already. They're still just beating him up in this room and being like, you're going to talk, asshole. And he talks about this whole thing about, well, you know, the thing about the Night Stalkers is when you join the crew, you get a tracking device implanted in your body. So if you go missing, the cavalry will come in. And then he's talking about it's implanted in my ass cheek. And then they hit him. Oh, it's implanted in my other ass cheek. They hit him again. And this goes on for longer than it has to.
He's trying to improv some of his best shit here, Ryan Reynolds.
But then they actually wind up in a situation that I thought to myself, this is a very clever moment for a vampire hunter. They put like microscopic silver flakes into the fucking HVAC system.
That's awesome.
And start pumping it into the room so they all start choking on it.
Colloidal silver.
Thank you. And it's one of those moments where they do that, and this is kind of like a moment that really speaks to what Ryan Reynolds' superhero career would be afterwards, because he's like telling them that that's what's happening. He's like, and here comes the cavalry. And then nothing happens. He goes, any minute now. And nothing happens. And then Blade drops in through the ceiling. It's like, could have been earlier than that. So now we're into the third act. Blade starts fighting some people. He leaves Hannibal chained to the floor in his cell because he doesn't actually care about him.
That's hilarious.
And then we get him running around and killing random SWAT team vampires because this movie's not going to bother doing makeup on a bunch of fucking extras. Abby comes in, she frees Hannibal. She gives him a bag that's like his quote unquote toys, which apparently included a tank top, so he's not shirtless anymore, and several of his guns. So now they all get their various action scenes where Blade's killing people, Abby's getting into fights with minions, which includes some of the most awkward fight choreography camera shots I've ever seen, where they have stunt actors doing martial arts moves directly at the camera, but from like a middle distance, so it doesn't even feel like we're in the action of it.
Oh my God.
Finally, our big payoffs are Blade finds Dracula. He's wearing ancient yet modern armor. He has his own sword that looks like Blade's, but the handle is bone, and they're going to get into a sword fight.
But you forgot about the plunging neckline.
Well, he barely has a neckline. It's plunging to the point where it's non-existent, and then as time goes on, he rips the vest open.
He has all that armor on, but his like chest is exposed.
So, Blade starts getting into a fight with Dracula, and Dracula's deep V of a neckline. But Hannibal King, he comes across the vampire Pomeranian. He thinks, oh no, well, I guess I'll have to deal with you. And then he comes across two vampire Dobermans.
Oh dear.
Fuck.
There's more vampire dogs.
So they start chasing after him. One of my favorite moments of this whole entire bit is they used a take in this where as the dogs are chasing after him, the Dobermans are behind the Pomeranian.
Right.
But they're faster than the Pomeranian because of how big they are.
Yeah.
And one of them just fucking bodies the Pomeranian out of its way.
Oh, really? Oh, my
to
God.
get
I
in
do remember
front of
seeing
it.
that.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
It trucks that Pomeranian.
Like, and I was like, you guys, you couldn't find a better take for this? This was what they used. It literally just completely plows through it, knocking it on its side and keeps running, and then the Pomeranian scrambles to get up and follow behind it.
That's awesome.
And so he runs, he gets to the end of the hallway, and he does this whole like jump where he grabs on to the top of a window to like get out of their way, and they all just plow through a fucking plate glass window, and all three dogs fall out of the building to their death at the fucking like 6 stories below.
At first I was like, yo, they're killing dogs, but then I was like, they were vampire dogs, so it's okay.
I don't look, man, I can't feel bad about anything that happens in this movie because it's stupid. So he winds up being like, yeah, fuck you, dogs. I beat you. And then he walks backwards and falls through the hole that leads him back to the cell he was in to begin with.
Back to square one.
Because Hannibal is stupid. Ryan Reynolds' character exists in this movie for the sole purpose of getting the shit kicked out of him. Because obviously Wesley Snipes refused to ever lose in a fight against anybody.
Yeah.
So he's the one who gets his ass kicked the whole movie. Speaking of which, Triple H shows up. Sorry, Jarko Grimwood.
Jarko.
And he stands over the now dazed Ryan Reynolds and he goes, hey, dickhead, have you seen my dog?
So bad.
And that starts a fight scene.
But I love his answer. He goes, did you check the lobby?
Did you check the
I was like,
lobby?
this is so fucking stupid.
So now we have two fights going on at the same time, which is Hannibal versus Jarko and Blade versus Dracula. And you know what's really upsetting? The Hannibal versus Jarko fight is more interesting.
It's a lot better. There's a lot more dynamic stuff that's happening. Every time they cut to the Blade Dracula fight, it's just them clinging swords off each other.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. It's clang, 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 clang. Oh, we're evenly matched. Then you go back and it's Triple H beating the shit out of Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he body slams him and shit. It's
and
great.
This is the moment where I wrote down, why is Triple H a more formidable opponent than Dracula?
Yeah.
Good point.
So throughout this whole thing, like, it's just this weird buildup of Abby running around and killing random vampires to get an angle so she can fire the fucking, like, sundown arrow or sundog arrow or whatever the hell they called it on Dracula. But she still can't make it happen. After a little while, Hannibal, while fighting Jarko, gets him down, breaks his arm. Jarko just refixes his arm immediately. The toughest thing I've seen in this whole movie. That's intimidating as shit.
Yeah.
This man reset his broken arm and still wants to fight you. I am horrified by this person. I also don't know why he has metal fangs, but, we can't explain everything, I guess. Left to the imagination. Finally, we get to a point where Hannibal doesn't really overpower him, but just overthinks him because we have proved throughout this movie that Jarko is stupid. And Hannibal fires one of his fucking daylight bullets into Jarko's mouth where it catches on his fangs and explodes. And honestly, I think he gets one of the coolest deaths of the movie.
It is kind of a cool death because he falls through the slats all separated. And it's kind of cool.
It's a decent computer generated effect for that.
It's a good death.
After that, Hannibal then starts getting into a fight with Danica. And it's not much of anything because yet again, it's Ryan Reynolds getting his shit kicked in because she's a vampire and he's not. We get through a whole entire instance of random, we're both way too strong fight moments with Dracula and Blade until finally they go crashing through windows and smashing up concrete. And then Dracula finally decides to transform back into his scary fucking demon form. And the makeup and the prosthetics for this look great.
Yeah, it's actually not bad at all. It's pretty good.
I'm so upset we didn't see this more, but obviously that would have cost a lot of money.
You guys like that full design?
I think it looked
It looked pretty good. I mean, I think a lot of that's actually on screen. Obviously, the face.
No, that's full on practical fucking makeup.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was at least creative. It's not like what I would have designed, but
it's a weird design.
It is in a movie that follows a movie that was directed by fucking Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
It finally gave us creature effects.
Yeah.
And so he's about to kill Blade. He makes this whole comment about how apparently he really likes the phrase motherfucker, which is whatever. And so he tells Blade, "Are you ready to die, motherfucker?"
Well, earlier Blade goes, "I'm ready, motherfucker."
Yeah, he liked that. He liked that word.
And he's like, "Motherfucker, I like that." I'm like, I don't care. So he's about to kill Blade because Blade's apparently finally on his back foot, and Abby goes to fire the sundown arrow. I still don't know what the hell it's actually called. The sundown arrow is what I'm going to keep calling it. Anybody in the comments or the whatever can correct me. I won't read it. And so she fires it. He catches it. Now, the first thing that I remember saying is she's aiming at him through a plate glass window.
You can't find a
and
better
I
spot.
thought to myself, you're immediately going to fucking fail because the glass is going to completely change the trajectory of that arrow.
It gives you away. You couldn't find a better spot where there was no glass.
She fires it. It breaks the window. He catches it and he's all like, ha ha, I win. And he throws it on the ground. So she's like, all right, I guess I'm going to fire another arrow at you. And as she does, Blade grabs the arrow he dropped and stabs it into him. And oh man, now it's mixing with his blood and the chemical compound is coming out and it's killing all the vampires as a chemical weapon. By the way, this is a war crime.
This is an airborne viral disease. They've just...
And so it saves Hannibal because it kills Danica. Her brother got killed unceremoniously earlier by Abby, I think. Paul Levesque's dead. Dracula's dying. All the these two random goons who might have been twins also die. I don't know why we gave them screen time. And so now we've come to realize, oh my God, the weapon works. But I guess it works in the vicinity of this building.
Yeah,
so
how's this thing has to spread to all the vampires.
That's
what is that going to happen?
Underwhelming. And what are you going to do without Dracula's blood anywhere else? So, Abby and Hannibal are alive. They walk into the room that has Dracula and Blade in it. Before that happened, Dracula had made some mention to Blade about how you're the future of our race because you're honorable and know the way of the sword or some shit. And then they stand over Blade's body and it's all sad. Like, oh my God, I think Blade's dead.
Oh, no.
They said that might happen. The FBI show up. The FBI's here. Oh my God, they're still in this movie.
Where have they been?
They run in and Blade's gone and the other two are gone, but they find Dracula's body, but then we're in a morgue and suddenly they have Blade's
This makes
body?
no sense right here. Yes.
And Ryan Reynolds' voiceover kicks in again, and he makes mention that Drake's final gift to Blade was pretending to be Blade so he could get away and the FBI would bring in the wrong body.
What?
And before they could do an autopsy, the body turns into Dracula. And then Blade's alive.
It's all just like
end.
it's all like unnecessarily overwritten again.
It's
Yeah,
so
and then he makes mention of so Blade's still out there somewhere fighting his fight and credits.
It's like, and why, are we doing a thing now where Dominic Purcell's like an honorable person, like an honorable vampire? Like, why did we even do that?
Dracula.
Yeah, he apparently had to get bested in a sword fight by getting stabbed with an arrow full of chemical weapons to be like, you know what, Blade? You're
right.
pretty fucking okay.
Before I completely die, let me turn into you so that I can get the heat off of you.
What kind of sense does that make? I believe also there is a post-credit scene. I turned it off by then, but I read it later, and it's just Blade driving around. So now, Blade's okay, and he's driving around.
Great.
And that's it.
There could have been a Blade 4, but there wasn't.
No, this kills the trilogy. Roll credits. Amazing.
The last note I have, based off of the credits, was the RZA did music in this.
No, it's
they credit the RZA for music.
His name is Ramin Djawadi and RZA. Yes, both of them. Oh, it was both of them. Wow. Yeah, RZA, Wu-Tang Clan.
So, boys,
the Rizzler,
listeners. That was Blade Trinity. And I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to put you through torture. We do have to find out what the fuck happened, though, listener, but we're going to take a quick break here, play some promos. We'll be right back. We're going to find out what the fuck happened in this movie, and it's wild. Right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Throwback Thursday from the Mr. Throwback Thursday podcast, along with my co-host Bill. Every Thursday, we bring you classic hip-hop.
Classic. Classic.
You know, all the good stuff, the stuff that you forgot about, the golden age, pre-golden age, back to the original era.
For all the pioneers, I'm going way back.
Each week, we bring you hip-hop headlines, so we let you know what's going on with your favorite artists from back in the day. We bring you Wu News. We dedicate an entire segment just to the Wu-Tang Clan every week.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
We bring you 2 records. One is a one and done. One is a record of the week. We give you an artist of the month. We give you all the classics.
Classic. Straight classic.
Come and check us out. Every week we're on iTunes, Stitcher, and at MrThrowbackThursday.com. And if you remember nothing else, always remember, new school stale, old school fresh.
Jock and Nerd.
Listener, if you love the What the Fuck Happened series or this podcast, you should join our fan club over on Patreon. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Jock and Nerd. It's a wonderful way to give back on a monthly or annual basis, and you get stuff based on the tier of support you choose. You get access to an exclusive podcast feed where shows come out early. There's bonus content, instant reactions. We do a monthly Discord hangout. You are welcome to come and join us on the Patreon. I love these. June's Discord will be June 20th of this year. Check out the Patreon page for the dates. And you can pick any movie for us to watch and review. Lots of fun stuff. jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Thank you for the support. It helps this bullshit continue. So help the bullshit continue. Okay, back into it with this.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Delhauer, do you have, before we get to the what the fuck happened, do you have anything on the alternate endings?
So, I know of one. I know there's two, but I don't remember the second one.
There's
one of
two. They're both famous, yes.
One of the alternate endings for this was in the scene at the end in the morgue. The body of Blade does not wind up being Dracula. It is Blade who fakes being dead, wakes up before they can cut into him for an autopsy, beats the shit out of all of the doctors.
Correct.
And leaves.
Correct. And this is the infamous scene where the shot of Wesley Snipes is like a double and he's not there. They overlaid his eyes opening from a different shot of him because he did not want to shoot, apparently lying there opening his eyes. So you could clearly see these like superimposed eyes open. It's very strange. I don't know why they would do that. The other alternate ending is the Night Stalkers are still around 6 months later and they're fighting a werewolf in a casino in Asia or something. It's very odd.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they did want to spin.
Oh yeah, they wanted to do a werewolf movie, right?
Yes,
they were very much trying to spin off a Night Stalkers movie.
Night
from
Stalkers, yes. So, Delhauer, tell us, this movie is 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. What the fuck happened to Blade Trinity?
So before I dive into that, one of the things I will say as a tie-in to your Patreon pitch,
yes,
is also. Everyone is always welcome to try and pitch us a movie to do for What the Fuck Happened.
Yes.
There is a list, but if someone wants to pay money to hear us talk about something, we will make that a priority. Except I do have a plan for the next one because it is the 20th.
Ooh,
and we want to make that special.
That's going to be a special one. I like it.
Now, beyond that, what the fuck happened to Blade Trinity? What happened to Blade Trinity is Wesley Snipes is a bitch. So the things that I got into when I was researching this is, yes, David S. Goyer wrote both of the scripts for Blade and Blade 2 before this. When Blade 2 came around, he negotiated to make himself a producer on these films as well. He was only a writer on Blade. He was a writer and producer on Blade 2. When Blade 3 came around, they had another director that they were going to try and bring in, who then wound up passing on the project. It was a German director who wanted to do this initially, but then passed on it because he didn't like the script, went on to do his own movie about the life and times of Hitler, I guess, and it was actually like Oscar nominated, so he made the right move.
I think so.
So the studio, I guess, just decided, like, I don't know, David, why don't you fucking direct it? And he was like, okay. First thing I learned, this is not David S. Goyer's first directorial movie.
Oh.
He made a movie called Zigzag back in 2002.
Oh.
It was released in one theater across the nation and grossed $25,000 at the box office.
I see. One of those.
It's at a 44% at Rotten Tomato.
It's higher than this movie.
It's higher than this. And Wesley Snipes played a character in it.
What?
He played like the abusive father of a special needs kid.
Wow.
It's one of those movies where you're like, oh, there's a lot going on here and none of it sounds like you paid attention. So David S. Goyer became the director of this movie. And what I have learned from watching this movie is that David S. Goyer is a director that does not have a vision.
BS is for stupid.
David S. Goyer is a director that copies shit from everybody else and pastes it into his own movie, and none of it gels.
Like Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
A little bit, yeah.
So Zack Snyder does it better.
The way I described this to Imran when I saw him and Anthony in person was researching David S. Goyer's career is an absolute dredge into mediocrity. The man has written some great movies. The man has written some trash-ass movies. He's directed 4 of them, and while 2 of them have been financially successful, they have all been panned by critics. Yeah. I think what it boils down to. So, Wesley Snipes was also a producer on this film, but apparently, as time went on, he made comments about how New Line Cinemas and David S. Goyer and the other producers basically boxed him out as a producer. They never listened to any of his ideas or notes. He was not involved during the casting of the film. And he started to feel like, apparently, that this was a racially motivated move by everybody else.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
So, he fucking hated making this movie and decided that he would go into full-on diva mode. Now, according to interviews that Patton Oswalt had given years later...
Yeah, I've seen these.
He has made comments about things like they would have days where Wesley Snipes would refuse to come out of his trailer. All he would do is hang out and smoke weed all day.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And he would only interact with people via Post-it notes.
Yes.
That he would make his assistant deliver to people.
Oh, my God.
And all of these notes were signed from Blade, not from Wesley Snipes.
Because he's method. He does not leave character.
So he's so method that he is being Blade in his fucking trailer.
In Post-it notes.
There is also apparently a moment where Patton Oswalt has claimed that he got physically violent with David S. Goyer and called him a racist to his face.
Yeah, he did not like him.
Now, ultimately, my feeling is this. Do you think absolutely anybody puts their like maximum effort into an event or project that they hate doing? Everybody who was here hated making this movie.
You can tell.
Because it was just unpleasant for everyone.
There's a Goyer quote. Goyer said, quote, "This is the most personally and professionally difficult and painful thing I have ever been through." He said that in a recent interview.
A year later, not even a year, 6 months after this movie came out, Batman Begins hit theaters. Written by David S. Goyer. And it's a phenomenal movie. How much effort do you think he put into writing Blade Trinity while he was also writing Batman Begins?
Oh, that's a good point.
That might be, that's a good point there.
That might be why.
He is working on a movie that he is the second choice director for, with a star who fucking refuses to work with him.
It sounds like a nightmare.
And now we understand why things like the scenes with Jessica Biel, where she's on the train platform fighting vampires, or she's having a fucking breakdown naked in the shower, are in this movie. They don't add anything. They don't matter, but they eat up runtime because Wesley Snipes won't come out of his fucking trailer. So what else are we to do?
Damn.
Sounds like a doomed project.
You know what? Nolan also gets credit on the screenplay for Batman Begins, so it's not just David S. Goyer.
Well, it's Goyer wrote the screenplay that got bought by WB, and then when Nolan signed on as director, he was like, I'm going to do a quick rewrite on this. It's why Goyer is credited as story by for Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
Because he wrote a whole fucking trilogy, like, outline, and then Chris and Jonathan went, great, that sounds great. We're going to take this and we're going to write our thing. And he went, okay, as long as I get paid, dude. Now, the thing is, I would love to give this movie a moment where I say, well, the problem is that it's a victim of the third movie in a trilogy curse. You know, Spider-Man 3, X-Men Last Stand,
Yeah.
Godfather 3,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
They're all the movies that are like,
Yeah.
they didn't do as well as the other ones. But I really think it boils down to a man who had more power than he should have, who was the centerpiece of the movie, decided, fuck you, I'm going to ruin this movie. And everybody else suffered for it.
I mean, there's also like there are large parts of the movie that he's not in where they're trying to set up the Night Stalker. So he probably wasn't happy with that you try to fucking start this spin-off and
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
He refuses to come out of his trailer, won't work on the movie, so they have to rewrite shit and bring the other characters more forward,
which makes him even angrier
to make up for their filming time. To which point he's like, "Oh, you're trying to replace me in my own fucking franchise,
Oh
huh?
my God.
Well, I'm not gonna fucking come out of my trailer then." And it's like, well, then we got to give them more screen time, asshole. Like, there's no winning here for you.
The problem is too is even with all that's happening, it's just a poorly directed and poorly written. I mean, the dialogue is bad, the directing is bad. Like no one was firing on all cylinders during this.
Yeah, I think that what happened is he tried to do a lot of different things. I don't know. It's like we're trying to make it like this David Goyer had a bad day and like this is the reason, but you can see he was doing a lot. There was a lot of effort putting into bad things. So is it like, oh, the second unit director did everything and he just, I don't know. It was very strange to see how it looked like they put effort into certain things and it didn't pan out.
But I mean, kind of in his defense, working with this Wesley Snipes sounds like a nightmare, which leads to there are so many cuts in this movie. Like from the beginning, I started counting every time there's an edit, and it's just constant. And like that hallway scene is edited so bad you can't tell what's going on. So is that, and you never see Wesley in the same shot with the others. So
you do.
I mean, you do,
but not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's the problem is that they took a decent screenwriter who is also a very mediocre director. They gave him his second movie ever to direct, and they put him in a situation that honestly you need a really good professional director to navigate.
Oh yeah.
And he fucking couldn't because he doesn't know what he's doing. So he made choices that were bad. He stole a bunch of fucking shots and whatever else from other things. And he put the minimal effort into getting it done because he didn't like working on it.
That plus the crazy cast of TV people.
Plus the cast. I mean, it's just like
this.
Yeah, it's like there's just no way. Like this is so incongruent with what we've gone so far in this series. They're just like TV show cast.
We have way too many shots of Jessica Biel putting iPod.
Oh my god!
earphones
The
in.
playlist. Remember the playlist?
Like, that wasn't even a cool thing. Why would you bring it up so much?
Yeah,
it's so lame.
So many attempts to try and make things so cool and modern, but like they're so throwaway that why would I give a shit?
It's so dated. Remember that click wheel iPod? And you had to plug it in and sync your shit and take it with you. And you're putting in earphones when you're going to go into battle. It's just going to get caught.
She makes a playlist. Yeah, is that cool? Or that's lame, right?
Well, Delhauer, again, I have to thank you for torturing yourself and doing the work and helping out because my voice is shit. And this is all going to be interesting to see why is it so hard to make a Blade movie. Clearly, even Marvel and Mahershala Ali are having problems.
Yeah, rumors are circling that they're doing yet another rewrite on the new one.
And
literally the answer is Blade fights vampires, write movie.
Yeah, they cast another guy for a villain, and they're just, I don't know why they can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's so bad. So bad what's happening with that.
I was listening to a podcast where they said, I feel like the problem is they keep going back and they're watching the first Blade for inspiration. The moment they get to the fucking blood rave, they went, fuck, we can't do anything cooler than this.
No, it's the best. And like Wesley Snipes is Blade, right? He does embody this character.
He was great at it.
I think Mahershala Ali will do a good job if he's not 60 by the time.
Yeah. if the movie ever gets made and he's of a normal age where he can still do some shit.
I'm surprised he hasn't fucking walked yet. This is a fucking Oscar winner. I don't think he needs this bullshit, but
I say if they don't have it nailed down by the end of the year, he fucking leaves.
Yeah, I thought he would have left already.
I think that he should because there's no reason for him to be in this movie anymore. So much time has passed.
That was 4 years ago. It was 2019 when they announced
when they brought him out.
Can you believe that?
San Diego.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years and we don't have
He's not going to have the energy to really be Blade. I mean, the stuntman's going to do everything.
Fucking
They're going
start
to deep
over.
fake everything. But
Yeah. It's going to be just as bad as this movie where they got to put the eyes on Wesley Snipes because he doesn't want to be there. Just start over. Anyways, another fantastic edition. Again, listener, if you want to check them all out, jockandnerd.com/WTF Happened. You'll find all of them. Delhauer, thank you. Do you want to plug anything?
No.
Great. Great. We'll try not to make it another year before we do another one of these, but that's what I said the last time, and it was over a year. So here we are. Rugs, where can the people find you?
Rug Boy Show on X.
Anthony, where can the people find you?
That's a callback to last week when he could not say the word people correctly.
I may have had a stroke.
Anthony, where are you so the people can find you?
This week, I'll be in Washington, D.C. for work, so we have any
Snap.
fans out there.
Wow.
Do not
Shit, dude, I'm
contact
going there
me.
this weekend.
The party doesn't
There
end.
you go.
The East Coast twice. Wow.
That's right.
The party don't end with the Jock. I can't. I'm still recovering from New York. You'll be finding me sleeping and trying to get my voice back. In the meantime, check out our website. Check out the show notes, the episode description. Links to everybody's thing is in there. Most importantly, share this with a friend that loves deconstructing horrible movies or is a Blade fan. They will enjoy it. We will appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's a nerd.
We'll peep you next time. Who's the nerd? You're the nerd.
I'm a nerd.
This is going great.
That's a big fuck up right there. I really don't give a shit.
Jock and Nerd. Okay. Can you hear everybody? Can hear everybody else?
I can hear him.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Who's that?
Okay,
Is that
good.
Rugs? Is that Anthony?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Oh, wait.
No, I'm
You
here.
got two rug boys.
But what if I'm here?
Oh, no, there's three of them. This is my
Oh, no.
nightmare come to life.
My own personal hell.
Oh, my God. If,
All right.
oh, if all three of you do rug boy voice for a whole show, that would be
No.
fucking wild. Okay, sorry. Back into it.
It would be one hell of an improv bit.
Oh, God.